Okay, so even though Donald Trump has been completely missing from being the president for what is now several months, he did post another one of these bizarre videos on New Year's Eve, and this is a particularly deranged video. I showed it to some mental health professionals and said, if this person were a patient and came into the office making claims like these, what would you think? And everybody I showed it to in some version or another said, I would question whether the patient is losing connection to reality. We'd be thinking about whether medication is appropriate. Now, that's not a diagnosis of Trump. It's a hypothetical about if Trump was on your couch rather than on your TV making these claims, what would you think? So let's get right into it. A very odd 5-minute speech posted to Trump's Twitter on New Year's Eve. Trump not slurring in this particular speech. His voice does sound strained. Let's get right into it.
In the face of great challenges this year, Americans showed incredible grit, strength, tenacity, and resolve. And together we achieved truly historic victories like nobody ever thought possible. To defeat the China virus, we launched the largest mobilization since World War II. We transformed our factories to build tens of thousands of ventilators and millions of masks virtually overnight. Nobody thought it could be done. We ignored the experts who demanded open borders, and we shut down travel from China and Europe to protect our citizens, and we built the wall.
So this is Trump's completely delusional revisionist history on COVID. We've been one of the biggest global failures on COVID. We failed on testing. We are actively failing on vaccination, which we'll get to tomorrow. But this isn't new information. We have the 7th highest per capita cases in the world. We have the 12th highest per capita death rate in the world, excluding a couple tiny territories like San Marino and Andorra. If we include them, we're 14th highest. I won't bore you with more of that. You're likely as sick of hearing about those numbers as I am. And then just last thing, Trump casually says we built the wall. No wall was built. The promise was a wall across the entire border by January 20th. There's 2 weeks left. There's no wall. Let's keep going.
We pioneered groundbreaking new therapies and treatments, and we saved millions of American lives. Over and over again, we were told it would be impossible to deliver a vaccine by the end of the year. All of the experts said, absolutely unthinkable. Trump is exaggerating. It can't happen. And we did it long before the end of the year. They said it would take a medical miracle, and that's exactly what it is. Years from now, they'll be talking about it. They'll be talking about this great thing that we did with the vaccines. A truly unprecedented, amazing medical miracle. Normally, developing a vaccine takes up to 10 years. Thanks to Operation Warp Speed, we developed a vaccine in just 9 months.
Now the lies there are a bit more nuanced. No one said this is a straw man. No one said you can't do a vaccine by the end of the year. And in fact, you can go back to my shows in late April and early May, and I showed you sober projections. One was, I believe, from Goldman Sachs, which think what you want about them when it comes to these timelines. They've been pretty good. And they said we expect an emergency use vaccine sometime in November, and healthcare vaccinations could start at the end of November or early December. That ended up being the case. So it's not nobody was saying we'd have a vaccine this year. But remember that Trump promised us 100 million doses by the end of 2020. That failed. He then definitely promised us 20 million vaccinated by the end of 2020. We are only now getting to the first 4.5 million doses. First dose given. Remember, you need 2 doses. So Operation Warp Speed has fallen about 90% short of what was promised. And that's the bottom line fact. And then here, Trump really gets even more delusional.
We've already begun a nationwide vaccination program, and we're sending the vaccine all over the world. The world will benefit, we'll benefit, and everybody's calling to thank me.
We know of no calls from world leaders thanking Trump. Zero. We know of 0 calls. But that's not really the big part to talk about. Trump says we're sending the vaccine all over the world. That's about 5 layers of lies. First, many of the vaccines have nothing to do with Operation Warp Speed. It's pharmaceutical companies that are sending the vaccine all over the world. Number 2, Trump turned down 100 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine in late July. So the 100 million doses were then sold by Pfizer to other countries. We're not sending them. We turned them down, so Pfizer sold them to somebody else. We could have had them. Trump said no. And now Pfizer has figured out that other countries want them and they're sending them elsewhere. So just wrong on 4 or 5 different levels. Let's keep going. Trump then singing his praises and grading himself.
We will end the pandemic once and for all. This is one of the most extraordinary scientific, industrial, and medical feats in history. Everybody has it as that. That's what they're marketed down as. And we can never let people forget where it came from and how it came.
Trump continues to be obsessed with his marks, as he calls them, says that the world has marked this down as a major success. Of course, we have the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, thanks to Turkish immigrants in Germany. The Moderna vaccine, overseen by Israeli-born Chief Medical Officer Tal Zaks and French businessman CEO Stéphane Bancel, who's the CEO of Moderna. And we have the Oxford vaccine developed in Oxford, England, starting to be approved. What is Trump talking about? Skipping ahead a little bit here, Trump touts his great economy, and then he goes into some real whoppers about the GDP, which we've been warning you about for a while.
Our economy is growing at the most rapid rate ever recorded, 33.4% last quarter, and much faster than the nations of Europe. Nobody can compete with us.
This one is just sad. We had rapid GDP growth in the third quarter after record GDP loss in the second quarter. If you have 10 apples and I take away 7 and then give you 6 back and brag about how no one's ever given you more apples than me, I'm kind of an idiot, right? Nobody would fall for that. But people are falling for the equivalent story that Donald Trump is telling. And of course, it's similar with Europe. Europe is seeing slower GDP growth because they had less GDP decline to begin with. Understand it. So it's a total farce, and Donald Trump rapidly approaching his last and final public appearances tonight in Georgia in support of the 2 Republican candidates there. I'll be covering it live. I hope you'll join me on YouTube, Twitch, and or Facebook. You can stream it on all 3 at once if you want, starting about 8:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight. One of our sponsors today is Lucy, and they are giving my audience 20% off. Lucy is a company founded by Caltech scientists with only one mission, which is to help people quit smoking and vaping by offering a clean, affordable nicotine alternative. Now, many of you know, you've heard the stories. I've known several people in my life who have struggled with quitting smoking. I've seen how difficult it can be. And nicotine alternatives can be hugely helpful. Lucy offers a nicotine gum in 3 flavors: wintergreen, cinnamon, and pomegranate. They also have lozenges, which come in cherry ice flavor. Lucy is affordable. It'll ship right to your door. You don't have to go out to the store. Shipping is always free. You can buy single boxes or save with a subscription. It's the year 2020. It's time to throw the cigarettes away and get rid of the vape. And Lucy can make it easier. You'll find a ton of excellent reviews online from countless people who have used Lucy to quit smoking and vaping. Go check them out at lucy.co. I've put the link right underneath this video, and you'll get 20% off when you use the coupon code Pakman. And just a quick disclaimer, I'm required to give: these products contain nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.